Hey guys, it's Jill, and today I'm going to be doing a much requested video, which is how I budget as a single mom. So the first tip that I have for you guys is to make sure you know your credit score. Credit is so important, you guys. If you're still living with mom and dad and you don't know what credit's all about, this is like a perfect video for you, because this is going to kind of give you the ins and outs of why credit is so important and steps you can take to kind of build your credit, which kind of ties into budgeting, because all of that stuff helps you budgeting with credit cards and getting approved for credit cards and knowing the ins and outs of like having a credit card and being responsible for a credit card. So the website for that I recommend to keep your credit in line and figure out how to keep it good if it's already good, continue to increase it if it needs to be increased, and just keep an eye on it to make sure that your credit score is not going down, and that is creditsesame.com. This is a website I've been using for probably about 9 or 10 months now, and it's something I love to go to, whether it be weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, to just kind of keep an eye on where my credit is, why it is the way that it is, like the score that it is, and what Credit Sesame will do. I have it pulled up over here because I'm not going to obviously put it on the screen because you guys are going to see all my personal information. I'm not getting that personal with y'all. So basically it kind of gives you your credit score. It tells you if your credit has gone down or if it's gone up, and it tells you how many points it's gone down or gone up. And it kind of gives you, like, it rates basically your credit. So it rates your payment history, it's going to rate your credit usage, it's going to rate your credit age, your account mix, and then credit inquiries. So if you guys don't know, anytime you go apply for a loan or a car or anything like that, it's going to affect your credit score, because that is a hard inquiry and that can make your credit score go down. So it also kind of gives you a debt and analyst, and it tells you how much you owe and how much I believe you are making. You're making on your payments, but it also has many different features. Like if you do want to sign up for a credit card, it'll give you credit cards that they think that you might be approved for, or you might have a fair or good chance of getting approved for that credit card. And it could be credit cards that are just like basic credit cards, or it could be the credit cards where you have to put money down, or it could be the credit cards where you actually get something in return for using their credit cards, like incentives, like cash back or whatever the case may be. So I absolutely love this website because it gives you so many tips and tricks. It shows you what you can work on. It gives you tips on how to work on your credit. It does not do the work for you. Obviously, you have to do the work for yourself, but it is a great tool for you to go in, check your credit score, see why it's going down, see why it's going up, see what you can improve on and stuff like that. And this stuff is vital, because when you move out, whether it be leaving a husband or leaving your parents' house for the first time, or you know, you and your husband are just renting and you want to go buy a home, or you want to go rent another home, you have got to have good credit. You don't know how many times I've gotten so tired of getting on the phone and asking around, hey, do you guys check credit? Hey, do you guys check credit? Hey, do you guys work with people that have bad credit? Because that is what you're going to have to do when you have bad credit. People do not everyone wants to work with people who have bad credit. Your credit score determines so much. You cannot buy a house unless you have a certain credit score. You cannot buy a car unless it's a certain credit score. I'll take that back. You can buy a car, but you're going to be paying almost as much in finance charges as you are for the car itself. So creditsesame.com is a great website, and it's a great tool to use to help you build your credit, know where you're going with your credit, know what you want to do, like write out your goals. Like for instance, if you're moving out for the first time, you may know, okay, well, if you guys don't know, like when you get a credit card, maxing out those credit cards affects your credit score in a very negative way. Creditors want to see that you are responsible with your credit, basically. So that if you get a credit card, you're not maxing them all out, but you're using them responsibly. So say for instance you have a $300 limit on a credit card, you're using a certain percentage of that, and then basically what I would suggest, and this is just the best way to go around it, especially to save you from having to pay finance charges and finance fees, is to just go ahead, get a manageable credit card, because credit cards aren't bad. Credit cards actually help to show that you have revolving credit, and I will always say they're a great tool to use in the right way to build your credit, but you have to know how to use them, and that is just using a certain amount each month and then paying that amount. So whatever it is in your budget that you can afford, whether it be $25 to $50, use that, pay it off, and show it so it can be revolving on your credit, and then that way you're saving having to pay any kind of finance charges or anything like that. So creditsesame.com is a great tool before you move out, whether you're about to go to college. I'm actually a single mom who's going back to school. My kids are already back in school, but I'm going back to school in September, and while my credit score doesn't affect that primarily, it could help me get loans if I don't have financial aid available, which, if you guys didn't know, there is a limit on the amount of financial aid that the government allows you to borrow. So that's tip number one, is to make sure you're checking your credit constantly, consistently. I'll leave a link down below so you guys can sign up. It's completely free. It's not an affiliate link. And it's completely free for you guys to sign up and just check in on your credit, see what it's doing. Right now I can see that my credit score has gone down a little bit and it's not the best, so I need to get back on this and work on it. Okay, so tip number two is, before I left, I made sure that I wrote down what I was making and also everything that I was going to expect. From gas, like putting gas in my car, to little things like activities, like, okay, I want to take my kids out to eat once a month, so I'm going to budget that out. I want to be able to do this, so I'm going to budget that out. I wrote down every single thing. And one way that you can go about, like, because you know, you might look at it and be like, well, wait a minute, I don't know what my power bill is going to be. I don't know what my water bill is going to be. You can call the power and the water company. I think the gas company is the same too. This is all electric, so I don't have to worry about paying gas for in my home. But you can call those companies and say, hey, I'm about to move into such and such place, and can you give me an estimate on what my monthly power bill might be? And they will do that based on the previous owner or the previous person that lived in that particular place. So that's a really great tool to help you, because it's going to be able to allow you to guesstimate and kind of estimate like all of your expenses, so you can say, okay, I can do this. I encourage single moms, like especially like if you're in a toxic relationship. I don't know if you know my story. I will have videos to come, and this will all be like in a playlist of my story and how I came about, you know, becoming a single mom. But I was in a toxic relationship, and I knew that I had to leave, which took a lot of planning, and that kind of went into my budgeting aspect. I started budgeting before I even left, and that was going again to just like see how much can I afford for rent, how much can I afford for this. Like, I had to make sure that I could afford everything. I couldn't depend on child support. It's been how many months? 6 months? 6 months now. I have not gotten anything for child support. He might give me money here and there. The kids might need something. He'll give me something, but it's not, I'm taking care of the children myself, basically. And, you know, so it's one of those things where if you know you can depend on child support, great. But if you know that you can't, don't depend on that. You know, when it comes and you have like a child support order, which we actually have a court order now, and he's due to start paying in September. But until then, I'm basically doing this on my own. So I think it's just so important to list everything out and take some time when you're doing this. Like, literally take some time and say, how much do I pay for my car? How much will I need to set aside for savings? How much do I need for this? How much am I going to need for this? Like, if you start just kind of putting it in your head, okay, well, I need gas, electric, water, insurance, this. Oh, I'll be fine. But then you don't remember about all these other little things, and then you move out and you're like, oh crap, I didn't think about that. Y'all, I had everything listed down, like everything I was gonna need, everything I was going to want, everything that, I mean, just everything that I knew was going to be due. Tip number 3 is to definitely month by month, like once I got out, what I did was I listed out, so for the month of March, I listed out every single bill that I had to pay and every amount of money that was coming in, from YouTube, from sponsorships, from my main source of income, which is my job. I also have another thing that I do. So all of that money, I would make sure I would put it as a total, and I would write down all of my bills, and then I would do them in order as to how they come out. I don't have auto pay for everything, but for a lot of things that I do. So I would have to say, okay, I know that my cell phone is due at the very end of the month and it's auto pay, so I know I have to have this much coming out. Then the next week, my gym comes out of my account automatically, and you know, rent's due, or this is due, or this is due. So I made sure to go in order of every single bill. I also even added in things like gas for my gas tank. Like how many times, I had to sit down and think, okay, well, how many times do you fill up your gas tank? Well, usually I fill it up just twice a month, and I know the normal amount that it takes to fill up my gas tank. So I would write that and budget it out, and I would say, okay, for the first of the month, I have to go and get gas, and it's going to be this much, so I have to have this much money. So that just helped me tremendously. And then you can kind of see like, okay, what's coming in, what's going out, what do you have left over, and from there I would highly suggest that you put that excess in savings. Maybe do a little bit of extra if you can with your kids, like take a little bit, okay, I'm gonna save this much that's excess, and I'm gonna give I'm gonna put the rest in savings. One thing I wish I would have done was thought about doing a separate savings account for Christmas, because Christmas is right around the corner, and I'm kind of sitting here like right now, like what am I gonna do? Because I'm gonna get into the mistakes in a minute, but that's huge, is to make sure, especially you guys, if you are used to your husband doing all of this. See, again, I have a background in accounting and finance, so I knew all about budgeting. I knew how to do it. I also paid bills. I had lots of things in my name. So it was a really easy transition. It wasn't like, you know, because things that you're going to have to think about, like if you're going to move out on your own, the water company is going to need a deposit. The power company is going to need a deposit. The gas company might need a deposit. So those are just things that you're going to have to think about in budgeting if you're like looking to leave your parents' house, or looking to leave a marriage or a relationship, or whatever the case may be. So that was something that I did that was super, super, super helpful. Mistakes that I've made. You can do all the planning, but y'all, you got to do the work. I was so consistent and diligent when I first moved out for about the first 3 months. Whatever I said that I was going to put in savings, I was putting in savings. Whatever I said that I was going to put towards my credit cards, I was paying that towards my credit cards. I was getting my credit score in a much better place, which again, this is why creditsesame.com is such an amazing tool, because it allows you, anytime your credit utilization is too high, that's when I notice, oh, my credit score is starting to go down a little bit, like I need to tighten up. I really need to tighten up. But I was so consistent in paying off my credit cards and making sure I had a really low balance, and making sure that I was doing what I should have been doing, what I said I was going to do. And then sponsorships kind of started coming in, and this was like unanticipated money I didn't think, like blessings were coming out of the yazoo, like I'm not even kidding. And instead of using that money wisely, paying off credit cards, paying off more debt that I have, because when you go to Credit Sesame, you can see what it is that you owe, like who it is that you owe, how much you owe. So you can go in there and say, okay, I need to start paying on this, and I need to start paying on this. Another thing you can do too, don't take my word for it completely, because not all companies are going to do this, but I've worked for like a title loan place before, and I've just heard from experience that sometimes you can call these places and say, hey, I know I owe you $500, but I have $200 right now. Can we go ahead and squash this? And sometimes they'll say, yeah, go ahead. Let's make the payment. Let's do this. And it'll be, you know, you have to also go through the process of like asking them for some kind of report to make sure it comes off your credit, but eventually it will. And you've taken care of that thing that's on your credit, that negative thing that's on your credit. So that's something that I wish I would have done, because I have the tools right there. Again, you have the tools, but you have to put them in action. I also wish that I would have put more money in savings, thought about, you know, Christmas coming up. I wish that I wouldn't have bought so many clothes, because y'all, the sponsorships were just coming in like crazy, and I was like, wow, like this is amazing. And I kind of like, what happened was I came from a relationship where we were always broke, and I was so tired of being broke that finally money was coming up, or money was coming in, and I had excess money to go do things. So y'all, we were like, if you watched my vlogs in the summer, we were like here and there, and we just had a blast. I don't regret it, because we really did have the best summer of our lives, and it was definitely well deserved. But on the flip side, it also put me in a tight spot, in a tight situation coming close to Christmas. So I just say, like, stick to your budget, y'all. I know how hard it's gonna be. Sometimes you're gonna be lonely and you're gonna be like, F it, I just want to go. And even though I really need to put this money towards my credit card, or I really need to put this money in savings, I'm gonna go and just take the kids out, and we're just gonna go do this, or we're gonna go take a trip, or do whatever. And it's okay to do that every once in a while, but y'all, I was doing it like, I budgeted before I left, and like the first couple of months where we were just gonna go out to eat like either once, I think it was once every 2 weeks or once a month, I can't remember. Y'all, we were starting to go out like 3 times a week. Like, it had gotten that bad. I spent so much money on food this summer and activities like I was not planning on. So there was like so much excess. And not to say that I was like balling, like I wasn't by any means, but it was just so nice to go from like being so broke to having a little bit of extra, and it was just nice. And instead of doing the smart thing, which was to save it for things, unexpected things, like I'm gonna get into that in a minute, or things like Christmas, I just was spending. So that was a huge mistake that I made. Again, I don't regret it, but I do wish that I was a little bit smarter and at least said, okay, I got $100 from this sponsorship. I'm gonna take 50 and put that aside and put that in savings, or I'm gonna take that 50 and put that towards my credit card bill, and then take this other 50 and we'll go out to lunch, or we'll go out to dinner, rather than saying, I'm gonna take this whole 100 and 50 of it I'm spending on clothes, and the other 50 we're gonna go out to dinner or lunch or whatever. So I wish I would have done something like that. If I would have at least, if I was gonna spend something, I should have at least like halved it, you know? So that's a mistake. The biggest mistake that I made was I spent most of my savings to go see Shawn Mendes. Again, is something I don't regret, because savings is something that you can rebuild, and you're gonna make mistakes while you're on this journey. But it's definitely something that I wish that I would have. It was one of those, again, last minute impulse decisions. I had been wanting to go see him since the year before when the tickets first came out. I just didn't know mentally what kind of space I was going to be in. I didn't know financially what kind of space I was going to be in. So last minute, I let a friend talk me into it. And I shouldn't have. I really shouldn't have gone. But I did. And I almost depleted my savings by buying the tickets, the hotel room, buying t-shirts for me and my daughter, food, all of that kind of stuff, gas to get up there. Yeah, so that's something I definitely wish I would not have done, because here it is, Christmas is coming up, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? And then 2 weeks, or the week after, I think, after I went to go see him, I was almost dead broke, and here it is, my cell phone breaks, and I have to go 2 weeks without a cell phone because I don't have any money. You know, so those are mistakes that I'm learning from. And when the sponsorships start rolling in, if they start rolling in again, because they kind of like slow down, and then this is actually, this video is actually sponsored. I need to take my own advice and put this whole amount of money into my savings, because I need to start rebuilding my savings. That's another huge thing when it comes to budgeting. No matter how much money you make, you guys, go ahead and put some portion of your earnings into savings. You need a savings account. This is something I've never had in my whole entire life. It wasn't until I left back in, well, actually I started saving last October, something like that. I started saving and I built up my savings account, and I had to spend some things. But savings is there for a reason. It's not always going to be like, you know, you're sometimes going to have to take money out of that savings, and you shouldn't feel guilty about it. You should kind of feel guilty if you do it to go to a concert. But then I kind of think about it in the way of like, see, I'm sitting here still trying to justify it, but I think about it like I haven't been to a concert in so many years, and it was well worth it. That was the best night of my life. Like, I haven't had that much fun in a really, 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 really long time. And I do think about the thing that, you know, you can build your savings again. But if I were to go back to that day before going to the concert, it was the day before the concert, I would not have talked to my friend, and I would not be. But then again, you make mistakes so you can learn from them, and then I can make a video talking about my mistakes. I think for the most part, those are like the biggest mistakes that I've made. It was just basically, you know, instead of like when I had the excess money, instead of doing smart things with it, I did other things. But y'all, I'm still learning. If you are, you know, moving out on your own for the first time, or you are gonna become a single mom, there are things that you are going to learn on your own, and you're gonna make mistakes. You know, you're not perfect, and it's okay. It really is. And I had to keep telling myself, like, I had to keep telling myself that, like, when I basically depleted my savings to go see Shawn Mendes, I was like, oh my gosh, like, why did I do this? Why did I do this? Now my phone's broke and I have to go 2 weeks without a phone. And it all worked out though. It all worked out, and I wouldn't change it for the world. So that's pretty much it for my budgeting tips and tricks. If I think of anything else, I will definitely leave it down below in the comments, or no, in the description box. Again, don't forget to visit creditsesame.com. I will also leave that link down below. That is a wonderful tool. So if you guys can think of any other tips, maybe something I haven't touched on or something that you do. I know like budgeting and finance sometimes is like a really touchy subject. I have no problem with it because I'm not sitting here talking about like dollar amounts. Like, I make this, my credit score is this, I do this, I'm saving this, you know what I'm saying? So I don't mind just being generalized budgeting tips. I don't mind. But yeah, if you guys have any budgeting tips or finance tips, leave them down in the comment section below. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Good luck to those of you who are starting college for the first time and leaving the nest. Good luck to you guys. It's going to be so much fun, and it's a new chapter in your life. Any single moms or moms that are about to become single moms, good luck to you. It's not the easiest thing, but I have personally learned so much about myself, and I'm enjoying the journey. It's not an easy journey by any means, but I'm definitely enjoying it, and I'm definitely enjoying getting to learn who I am again and all this kind of stuff, and kind of like be independent, which is something I haven't been since I was 19, 20, 21. So it's nice. Not ideal, but it's nice. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.